You get hurt, you don't put a patch on it, it's gonna keep bleeding. If I can put this in football terms, Street Fighter 6 is Real Madrid and Tekken is like Millwall at the moment. What's up, YouTube? Ozzy back with another one. Ex-Tekken veteran, ex-Tekken event organizer. And you know what? The numbers are in for Evo Japan and they're not looking too great. But Street Fighter 6 is smashing records. Tekken, not so much. Look, we're going to get into it, right? I didn't think the gap between Street Fighter 6 and Tekken was going to be this humongous. And my mate, Mr. Wade, sent me an article and I was reading it and I was like, wow, Street Fighter 6 has broken the record for the largest fighting game bracket in history. So this is Evo Japan, guys. That's going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. But it's going to happen soon. Probably next month, right? Okay, so if we have a read, we already knew from the earlier this year, Street Fighter 6 had more than double amount of entrants than any other game at Evo Japan year combined. And now that registration has ended, we can get the final numbers of just how many people have signed up. According to the official tournament page, 9,000 players registered for at least one game at Evo Japan 2026, and 7,000 of them did for Street Fighter 6. Wow, one game. This does break the prior record set by Street Fighter 6 at its first main Evo in 2023, where the game brought in 7,000 registered competitors. That's crazy. Let's look at the numbers. Street Fighter 6 sitting pretty at 7,000 entrances. Wow. Tekken 8, 851. Guys, that's not just a difference. That's like night and day. That's no competition. And it don't stop there. Like, Guilty Gear Strive is close to Tekken 8. I don't know what that says. So, like, even more games like City of the Wolves and Virtual Fighter 5 Revo are all stacking right behind Tekken 8. Now, some people are going to say, look, numbers don't matter. But I think to Namco, numbers matter. To these developers, to these big corporations, it's all about numbers. Because they want their game to be seen to do well. Because it generates player interest. Community engagement equals more sales, longevity. They need that for the game. And right now, Tekken 8, it's not even keeping up. There's no competition. So I kind of feel sorry for Evo Japan because every time an Evo Japan comes up, something fucks up for them. Remember when they released Broken Leroy for Evo? Imagine you organizing that event and Namco ruined it for you. That event was just a waste of time. And I feel sorry for Book, the Thai player who won that Evo. Imagine how he's feeling. He won an Evo, but no one cares because you used a Broken Leroy. This is all comes down to that patch. Well, this is what happens when you don't listen to your community. So, you know what I find so interesting is that they're already releasing an emergency patch. How much are you going to fix the game in 3 days, couple of days? You know that Evo Japan is coming up. So you're fucking it up even more. You know the thing with these developers, I would respect them more if they openly say, you know what, guys, we fucked up. Why is that so hard to say we fucked up? Why do we as humans find it so hard to say, you know what, I fucked up? Guys, we fucked the game up. We're sorry, can you give us some more time? Honestly, the community will respect that so much more. Instead, we get excuses. You know what? CD Projekt Red, when they released Cyberpunk, wow, probably the most broken game I've ever played in my life. But they openly said, guys, we fucked up. We fixed the game. They re-released. And they did. And Cyberpunk eventually done very well. Some people, they want to play it again. That's fine. My thing is, if I fuck up in a relationship, I'm like, babe, I fucked up. Yeah? If there's something with friendship, I fucked up. I say, I fucked up. Why is it so hard for companies to say, guys, we fucked up? You know when Tony Montana's friend calls him up and he goes, we fucked up, man. He got away. Just say that. Guys, we fucked up. Now, you put yourself in this mess, Tekken. Now you have to get yourself out of this mess. Shall we have a read through what it says? Okay, so guys, I've read the article. So let's start with the biggest point of the article, right? The entire focus is on season 3 and to fix extreme outcomes. What does that mean? I think rounds were ending too fast. Damage was too high. The situations were just one-sided. So instead of completely changing the game, they're trying to refine it. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know how they're going to fix this game. And to me, this is important because This is not a return to old Tekken. Forget that. Get that out of your head, right? Ex- expect slower gameplay, and maybe they're trying to make it more defensive, maybe more Tekken 7-esque, right? But that's not happening at all at the moment. They're keeping the current system. They're being very stubborn, but the numbers are not adding up. So they're trying to make it less crazy, but it doesn't seem like it's working out. I think one of the biggest changes in this philosophy, what they're trying to do is they want decision making to matter more. So instead of who presses first wins and busts heat wins, they want who makes the better decision wins, right? And that's what usually Tekken is. Whoever makes the right call, whoever makes the right read, you should get rewarded for that, right? But right now, that's not how a lot of players feel. There's so many things I could get into. Heat, chip damage, so many things. Some characters are just broken. But the biggest mechanic that they haven't got their grips around is heat. And that's pretty much what their USP was on Tekken 8, was the heat system. And it caused a lot of complaints. So, like, less reward for certain heat actions. For me, that low heat smash from Claudio, I don't know why they would put that in there, especially against on that wall stage where the lights explode. Claudio players are just waiting to do that. In my opinion, that should be a launch if you block that, but I don't know if there's a launch. I think the game can feel overwhelming. There needs to be more balanced interactions, in my opinion. And the one big change when I'm from reading this article is heat smashes will no longer wall splat. But that is not gonna make me play a game. You know, for me, I don't love Tekken 8. I don't hate Tekken 8. I appreciate it for what it is. I see it as I'm a G1 Transformers fan, so I see it as Michael Bay releasing Transformers films, and it's just so bad. You know, every sequel, they don't. You know, sequels don't always get better. You know, after Terminator 2, how bad were the Terminators? After Back to the Future 1, how bad was Back to the Future 3? And you know, after Rocky 4, the Rockies weren't that great. Things happen, guys. People move on. Back to basics. Let's see what some of the pros have got to say. So this is what the King Knee had to say. Honestly, from our perspective, I don't think they can fix it anymore. I think it's reached a point where it's beyond improvement. Guys, that's not a good look coming from Knee. Guys, so one of my good friends sent me this, and I'm not a numbers guy by any means, but you don't need to be a numbers guy just to look at this. You look at Street Fighter 6 on Steam, when they both announced their new patches, right? You're looking at over 50,000 people playing at one time, guys. That's not just good. That's insanely healthy for a fighting game. Like, Street Fighter is breaking records, and you can see that spike clearly. Players logging in, active, consistent. Now, I don't know if this how they can get numbers from like Xbox and PlayStation, but for PC, that looks mad. Now, let's compare that to Tekken. Tekken 8, same time frame, 7,000 players at its peak. That's night and day, guys. You know, you gotta let that sink in. 51,000 versus 7,000. That is not a small gap. They're not even competing. This is not a competition. If I can put this in football terms, Street Fighter 6 is Real Madrid and Tekken is like Millwall at the moment. You can't put them in the same frame. Like, usually there was a rivalry, but right now you can't say there's a rivalry. Street Fighter is in a completely different stratosphere. One game thriving while the other game is struggling. So if you look at the graphs, right, Street Fighter shows crazy spikes and recovery. Players come back, they're staying engaged. But Tekken 8, you see a spike and then it drops off again. Also, what's important is Street Fighter 6, that would hit its peak. Then it went to average players at 13,000. And Tekken was lower, like 4,000 or 5,000. So that's still a big drop off actually for Street Fighter 6. But if we look at the deeper point, right, the real issue is not about the peak players. It's about keeping them there. You know, the retention. Street Fighter 6, it keeps people playing. I haven't played Street Fighter 6, but there's something about Street Fighter 6 that's keeping the players coming back. Tekken 8, people log in and leave. I don't know when Tekken came out. I don't know if it's been 3 years now, but I've got like 650 hours played. There's some people on my list I've got over 3,000 hours played. And I don't know how you do it. And I have to call out a lot of guys because a lot of guys are saying they don't want to play the game and they're still playing it. So I think some of the you Tekken guys are addicts, but a lot of people don't want to play this game. And this is why a patch matters, guys. You get hurt, you don't put a patch on it, it's going to keep bleeding. The numbers don't lie, and it's a complete reflection on how people feel. If people at Namco think Tekken is doing fine, you have to ask, compared to what? Guilty Gear? Is that your competition now? Right? Because that gap isn't big, it's humongous. In my head, I thought Tekken was close to Street Fighter. Clearly not. So this is where you have to start asking questions now. I'm a retired vet. I don't have that attachment towards Tekken anymore, especially my issues with the industry. The real issue, guys, ain't just the numbers. It's how big the gap is between Street Fighter 6 and Tekken. It's that closing that gap. I don't know how they will do it, but what do you think? Are these numbers a big deal? I think the numbers say it all. Or is Tekken going to be okay in the long term? Let me know in the comments, guys, and hit that subscribe button. Helps the channel out. Aussie is out. Peace.